In this video, we lift a 280-pound heater. We set up bilge on smoke, and we got rid of historic layers of dirt.
Hello, it's so good to see you again. I'm Barbara, and together with Daniel I restored a historic sailing ship, Flying Coney. In this part of our engine room series we continue with decluttering and cleaning the engine room. Right now the engine room is a very unpleasant workspace. It is oily and greasy and the floor is quite slippery from all the dirt. So you really have to mind your step or otherwise you'll end up in the bilge. And since this doesn't make up for a safe engine room, we really have to clean it. Over the years the boat got all kinds of new equipment in the engine room. And since there was plenty of space down there and the only entrance was quite small and steep, no one ever bothered to get rid of the broken equipment. So over the years the engine room got more and more cramped and now you can barely move down there. So before we start to do proper work, like overhauling the engine, we have to get rid of everything that is broken or not in use anymore. We started last time by removing some old pipes and a pump, and we will continue this time with an old heavy diesel heater. A task we started months ago together with Anton.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Anton, for helping us with the diesel heater. Speaking about help, these videos wouldn't be possible without the support of our lovely Patreons. On Patreon we have weekly crew meetings and a WhatsApp group where we share real-time updates, future plans and considerations. So we share all our projects and get helpful ideas and inputs. For us it really feels like our Patreons are the big crew of Flying Coney and we are all together on this big adventure to bring her back to life. So thanks a lot folks for making these videos and the refit possible.
The main task for the day will be to get this heavy broken heater out of the engine room and on deck, which will be quite a difficult task because we need to cut it loose, we need to remove the piping, and we need to find a way how to lift this heavy heater out of the small engine room entrance.
Still smoking, but I think it's off. And I'm not sure about here.
Okay.
Maybe I should. So why did we set our bilge on smoke? Our bilge is covered in oil and grease and wasn't cleaned for decades. So when some hot sparks from the angle grinder hit the old grease, it started to smoke. It was easy to put out with a bucket of water and nothing happened. However, it is definitely one more reason to keep the bilge clean. Of course, we do have safety precautions before we start a task like this. We always have a fire extinguisher nearby and also a first aid kit and a mobile phone in case something goes wrong. And before we start any task, we always take a moment to talk about potential risks, how to avoid them and what to do if something goes wrong.
Probably the best method to remove this kind of screws. Just screw it until it's broken.
We finally got the diesel heater right underneath the engine room hatch. But it was already a long, very exhausting day and we were pretty tired. And lifting the diesel heater up on deck was a very difficult and risky job. So instead of doing it after a long and exhausting day, we decided to do a dangerous job like this at the beginning of a workday where we are still focused and have plenty of time. So we decided to call it a day and get a good rest before we get back to the diesel heater.
Today's task is to get the heating unit out of the engine room and here on deck, which is one of those tasks that is incredibly simple if everything goes according to plan, but it could go horribly wrong, so we better make sure that it goes according to plan and we do take our time to make it as perfect and as nice as possible, as smooth as possible. So let's hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So I'm now in the engine room hatch, and the problem is that the shackle and the hook where you can attach a chain lift to is off center. So we have to work around with straps to get an attachment point in the middle of the hatch to be able to lift out the heating unit.
The diesel heater is now safe on deck and everything went as planned. We used several straps to make sure it stays aligned while lifting and doubled each strap to have a backup in case one of them would fail. And we made sure that no one was standing underneath the heating unit. Our main concern was that the heater would fall down because we are not sure if our hull is strong enough for a 300-pound impact. But we took our time, prepared everything carefully, and now it's done.
The first task for this new week is to take this broken hose off the engine and have a look how the condition of the pipe is underneath, because as you probably all know, we do need to exchange all 25 different sized hoses from this engine because that one is obviously broken. So we start by taking that one off and then we can order all 25 others, because then we have a better idea how everything is. Barbara has removed the hose now, and at first sight it doesn't look too bad. Well, obviously there is a lot of build-up from the coolant that was dripping and rinsing down here for years and years and years, but we have removed it a little bit, and especially inside of the pipes there is not too much corrosion, so I think it's a good sign after the first initial investigation, but it will be a lot of work to replace all of the hoses. And it was absolutely time to remove that one. It's completely split. About time to give this engine a good overhaul and a good bit of maintenance. The big heating unit is finally on deck, and there's now so much more space in the engine room, and it's a good feeling that this step is done. Today we have about 30 to 35 knots of wind, which is quite a lot, but it is how it is here, and it's not raining, so we do call this good weather. The task for today is to get the engine room the first clean in about 30 years, and this is a step we're really looking forward to, so let's get it done. Yesterday we started preparing the engine room for the big pressure wash, which took much longer than expected. So then we had a look at the weather, and it was really windy and really cold, so not the ideal day for pressure washing. Then we had a look at the weather forecast, and it was forecasted calm and nice and warm. And today it is calm and nice and warm, which is really surprising for Lelystad. So the plan for the day is to get the engine room a little bit cleaner than before. So we brought out our old pressure washer that came with the boat. We do want to use snow foam, which is a product used commonly for washing cars, but it's not too aggressive, and it will hopefully get rid of a little bit of this oil and dirt down in the engine room. The downside of washing an engine room is, well, there is this opinion that all the diesel and the oil and everything also preserves the steel and that it inhibits rust. But I think it needs to be cleaned at one point, and this point is now. Well, that really was a busy week, but it's unbelievable how much this space has changed in this short period of time. When we started, you could send the white bunny from one corner to the other corner of the engine room and you got a black bunny back. And now the space is clean, it smells much nicer, and it's really so much more space. There is no unnecessary equipment except of a few little things like this generator here. But overall, it really has improved and we are now able to focus on the main engine. And also the plans we had and the steps we've taken, they kind of worked out. I mean, this snow foam, it worked. It loosened the dirt and the grease a little bit. It could have worked a little bit better, and the foam itself, it wasn't foamy enough in my opinion. But really, this step was huge. The space now smells so much nicer. It doesn't show in the video, I'm pretty sure. And it's so much more comfortable to work on the engine.
I intended to say that the last task for this day was to bring the freshly made bilge water to the pump out. However, since it was a really tough week, I simply forgot about it, so voiceover it is. You might wonder why we used the dinghy for this job. Well, that's simply because Flying Coney is too big for the harbor we are in, so we can't bring her to the pump out station. So after a long day of cleaning the engine room, I spent a lovely evening filling barrels with bilge water and playing wastewater shuttle.
The clean engine room really makes a huge difference. We can finally walk around without bumping into broken equipment, and it is really nice to be able to work on something without getting completely dirty. Since we used a car cleaner to scrub the engine room, it now smells like a freshly washed car instead of dirt, grease and oil. I know there might be different opinions, but we prefer it that way. So overall it was a very successful week. We also managed to order all parts we need to get the engine running again. At least that's what I hope. It's hard to believe how long things like sourcing and ordering parts actually take. So next time we will focus on replacing the coolant hoses, maintaining the engine and hopefully get it running again. And that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time. And just a quick tip. Here at the end of each video we link the next episode. Of course only if there is already a new episode. Otherwise it's the playlist. So have fun watching the story right from the beginning, and if you are already binge watching, see you in a moment in this video.